Yeah, Wishbone Ash there with
UC Red.
UC Red, yes, and so we have success, and somewhere on the line I should have Mr. Turner. You there, Mr. Turner?
Good evening, John. How you doing?
Oh, fine, thanks for calling in, mate. And yeah, just I've got to say thanks for that. Out of all the stuff you've done, it's the No Smoke Without Fire album's my all-time personal fave.
Oh, really?
So yeah, probably because it's the first Ash album I actually started listening to back in about 1970, when it 78, when it something like that.
It was, yes.
Yeah, so thanks for that. That's a beautiful album.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so you've just come back from Germany with your incarnation of Wishbone Ash.
Yeah, we've been out there for the whole of November. Well, actually, Germany, a couple of gigs in Switzerland, and a couple in Poland, would you believe?
Oh, cool. That was Poland, because I know the Poles like their rock out there, don't they?
Oh, yeah, passionate, crazy, mad. It was brilliant, brilliant.
Oh, cool. Right, so just for those people that have had their head in the musical bucket for the last sort of like, 30-odd years, or 40 years now, isn't it?
It is. It's a long time, yeah.
Yeah, so tell us the story, the early days of Wishbone Ash, how you came together, because you're originally from Torquay, were you not?
Oh, I was, yes, a West Country man.
Whereabouts in Torquay was it? Because my family lived down there.
I grew up in Shipay, which is a new sort of, well, it was back in those days when I was a kid. In the 50s, it was built after the war, and it was a council estate. And it was a tough little neck of the woods to grow up in.
That's right, my sister was just around the corner from there.
I have happy memories of it.
Ah, cool. So you formed the Empty Vessels, that was your first band, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the band that we played from 1962 in the West Country. Me and my little brother Glenn, and Steve Upton eventually joined us in about 66, I think it was. And we were basically just playing covers, you know, Who, Hendrix, Beatles and Stones, kind of Kinks, you know, that kind of stuff. And it was it was like doing your apprenticeship for 6 or 7 years, really.
Excellent. And then, so tell us, how did the Empty Vessels transmute into Wishbone Ash?
Well, on the very first day of 1969, I had a huge accident when I was driving for delivering stuff for the company I worked for. That was a direct result of having been up all night on New Year's Eve the night before, travelling down to Cornwall, playing a gig. Roger was down there, Roger, what's he called? Roger Taylor from Queen.
Yeah.
We all ended up hanging out at some disc jockey's house till very late. Of course, by the time I got back, I went straight to work, and predictably ended up crashing later that day. And it basically, it focused my mind. It was, you know, okay, Martin, let's own up. You're not Superman. You really need to choose whether you're going to work all day or all night, because I was doing both up until then. And it was at that point that I decided I really needed to move to London and become a professional musician, which is what I did.
Okay.
We were fortunate enough to meet Miles Copeland, who became our manager. He was just starting out in the music business as well. And it all happened from there, really.
Yeah, because was it Miles Copeland that hooked you up with, your first thing you did was tour supporting Deep Purple, wasn't it?
Yes, we did a gig with Deep Purple. We were supporting them at Dunstable Civic Hall, I think it was. And I think Richie Blackmore was quite intrigued by the band. He really liked the band. I saw him watching us from the side of the stage, and he called up one of their own producers, Derek Lawrence, who they'd had a hit with in the 60s. And Derek approached us, came to see us at a rehearsal, said he really liked the band and would like to produce us if possible. And a mate of his had just been made head of A&R at MCA, or Universal as it is now, in Los Angeles. So he flew out to LA and brought us back a really good recording deal. So yeah, we were very lucky, really.
And that led to the first album, so we played a track, Lady Whiskey, off it just now. And that wasn't it was a critical success, but not a commercial success, wasn't it?
No, I don't think Wishbone was ever, what would you call it, wildly commercial.
Well, John Peel liked it.
Singles-wise, I mean, a lot of the songs, the people that are into the band are very passionate about the music, and the music has lasted for donkey's years, it seems, and it still remains fairly fresh nowadays. But maybe that's partly because it wasn't on Top of the Pops all the time? I don't know, because music does get worn out when it's overexposed.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think basically we were always, or certainly my writing, which as the main sort of creative contributor, I've never been really what you would call a commercial songwriter. I'm a wacky one,
Yeah. And because back then you tend to have singles bands and album bands, didn't you?
Yeah.
Because you did have, because later on, by the time you got to the likes of Argus and There's the Rub, you were sort of like banging albums into the UK top 10.
Yeah.
But I don't know, did you ever release singles back then? Because I know a lot of the bands didn't.
I think the record company put quite a few out, yeah, but no. I mean, we would get calls from, Top of the Pops asking us if we could come in and record a show next Wednesday or whatever, and we'd have a look, and it'd be like, well, no, we've got a gig in Belgium or Holland or something, sorry. I mean, nobody in recent years would have done that. They would have cancelled the show and done Top of the Pops, but we didn't. We didn't feel that we really were the right kind of band to be doing commercial shows like that.
Yeah, because a personal friend of mine is Graham Pushkelnick, the Groundhogs drummer, and he remembers going on there with the Groundhogs playing Cherry Red and feeling like he's like not in the wrong town, he's living the wrong life, be it on BBC. Anyway, Ian, you wanted to...
But it's different strokes for different folks. I mean, I'm friendly with like guys, for instance, like Fred and Richard from Right Said Fred, and they were right in the front line as far as commercial music goes. And it went off like a rocket for them and lasted a few years, and now they can't get arrested in the UK. They play all over the rest of the world, but we at least, because of our album-based career and the fact that the music is melodic and does seem to have a long life, we are able still to tour in the UK and lots of other countries in the world. So that's fine by me.
Excellent.
Hello, Martin.
Who's this?
This is Ian Bartlett.
Oh, Ian, hi.
Co-presenter.
My co-host.
Yes, question I want to ask you, Martin. I know because I have the album, I've read the sleeve notes, but for the benefit of people out there in Radioland, could you explain why you re-recorded the Argus album, Argus for the Looking Glass?
Well, the Argus album really is a much-loved album, I have to say, by the people that are into it. And it had never been performed live in its entirety by the original band in the 70s. We played most of it, but there were, like Leaf and Stream, I think, and The Beginning of Time Was, we regularly used to leave those out. So I decided after all these years in my wisdom that it would be great to finally perform the whole of the album live on stage, which is what I did a couple of years ago. And obviously, in order to be able to do that, I needed to get the band together and rehearse, just to make sure that we would be able to actually do it. And in the course of that, I mean, I arranged to go up to my manager's place in Leighton Buzzard, and we ended up rehearsing in the recording studio. So he said to me, well, look, if you're going to be rehearsing in the recording studio, why don't we record it? I'm like, well, wait a minute, that's a whole nother deal, So in the end, he persuaded me that it would be a good thing to do, is just see how it came out. And I told the band that, that's what we were going to do, and they all kind of said, well, wait a minute, you can't do that. I'm like, well, why not? I said, well, it was a classic album, you can't go in and re-record it. I said, well, that's exactly what we're going to do, but this time it will be even better, okay?
Did you find it a daunting experience at all?
I mean, obviously, when you think back to those years, I mean, what was it, 1971, 72,
yeah.
we were recording that stuff. I mean, it was done on 16 tracks on analog tape, with hardly any effects or none of the technology, for instance, you've got nowadays. So the idea gradually caught on, and I think it was very interesting to do. And actually, I think the album came out sounding fairly similar to the original, but on today's technology. And there are a couple of tunes where obviously we do embellish the songs a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I have the album. I've listened to it many times, and I can hear it.
But I mean, I did also feel that it was setting myself up for quite a lot of aggravation. So you
it was a brave thing to do, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
It was a brave thing to do.
I think so, yeah. You are asking to get a smack in the teeth from just about everybody, critics, fans, ex-members of the band, all the rest of it. I mean, everyone's going to have a pop at you for daring to do something like that.
I suppose it'd be a little bit like Yes going in and re-recording Close to the Edge or something like that.
Yeah, it's a very, I found it a fascinating an interesting exercise to do, and to try and, to recreate the feeling, that was on the original album. But, I was the kind of, what would you call it, musical director come band leader in those days. I mean, for instance, the song Blowing Free. I'd been trying to get that recorded on the first album and then again on the second album. It just didn't seem to work for some reason, I don't know why. And then I was absolutely insistent that we had to record it for the Argus album. And everyone was like, well, I don't think it'll fit. It's too, all the rest of the material is really quite serious. And Blowing Free is a happy song full of joy. And I know it's exactly what we need to counterbalance the seriousness of the other music, and I really pushed like crazy. You can hear it in the bloody bass playing on the album. I mean, I'm absolutely determined that this song is going to work and sound really good, and it's probably it ended up being one of the band's most popular songs.
Absolutely.
Well, I can tell you, because I've doing the radio DJing, but when I've done rock club DJing, Blowing Free is one of the about 5 or 6 songs that is a genuine guaranteed floor filler.
Yeah.
You put it on, you got that da 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 that comes in, and next thing, empty dance floor, full dance floor.
Yeah.
And it's something. It takes a special song to be able to do that, especially after all these years.
It does. Yeah. You're not wrong. I mean, it's funny you mentioned that little guitar riff on the front. If you talk to guys who work in music shops, they'll tell you that when young guys come in to buy a guitar and they're trying guitars out, they play, Smoke on the Water, Stairway to Heaven, and Blowing Free. Those are the 3 most popular tunes. Maybe some of the younger kids, there's a Nirvana track or 2, but it's up there as far as being, favourite riff for guitar players.
Okay, well, I mean, just another quick thing I've just been noticing, noticed that your drummer on the album is Danny Wilson, the former Shawaddy Waddy drummer. Yeah?
Danny Wilson?
Yeah.
No, Danny joined my band a couple of years back, around the time that we were recording the album, and he actually played a big guitar, and I think he did a couple of vocal bits on there as well. But he's a guitar player.
I'm looking at the wrong thing. I can't.
Yeah, the drummer on the album was Rob Hewins.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm reading. I haven't got my glasses on me, mate.
Got your glasses on. Crooked, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I mean, some of this print on CDs is really difficult to read. I don't know. The guys that design it, they try and squash so much bloody information on there, and it looks fine when you see a draft, and then by the time it's been transferred and printed and everything, you struggle to be able to read it. Yeah, it's 6 inches
square, and everything's kind of like, sort of 3-point, yeah.
Yeah, especially for the optically challenged, and I include myself.
I mean, Wishbone Ash were a band that throughout the time you were with them developed, sort of like, we got a nice smooth curve, good because, because you listen to an album like Just Testing, it's very different from, say, Pilgrimage, but if you listen to the albums in between, you can see the steps. What would you say overall is the legacy that you leave behind with Wishbone Ash from that period?
Well, obviously, I mean, a couple of things. They call them albums, CDs, whatever name you put on it. I mean, it used to be called a record, and back in the vinyl days. And actually, that's a more accurate name because it is a record of the time at which it was written and recorded, if you know what I mean. And if you're in bad shape or if you're in good shape, if you're in America, if you're in Britain, wherever you are, it does record the state of the band at that given point in time. And obviously, the 10-year duration of the 70s, we went from being young, inexperienced, green lads who were trying to get into the music business to 10 years later, having traveled all over the world, played dozens of tours, especially in America, actually lived there for 2 or 3 years. And, it was post-punk era, we were going into the 80s. It was a very, very different time when we recorded Just Testing to, say, the early days of the band, which were very experimental. But the main thing I think that the band is known for is melodic content, and especially the harmony guitars,
I was going to ask you about where did the harmony guitars come, because you were the first guys to do that, weren't you?
Well, generally speaking, yeah, people do say that, and there's no doubt about the fact that we influenced a lot of bands, who came after us. Say, for instance, Thin Lizzy were one, who told me themselves, that they used to be there at the front watching everything we were doing, and Phil Lynott would say, yeah, that's the sound we got to get. And they'd done it. They did it extremely well and were kind of more commercially successful, if you like, than we were with that kind of sound. And I don't take, I can only take that as a compliment that people are that, influenced by what you do. But to be fair, I mean, Fleetwood Mac in the 60s, the original band, did kind of hint at it a little bit. And there was a band at the time who weren't around for long called Blossom Toes, who were also experimenting a little bit with it. So it wasn't entirely original, but I think what was is the technique that we employed. I mean, for instance, when the Empty Vessels was a 3-piece band, and we initially set about just replacing my brother Glenn, but we weren't happy with anyone, so in the end we decided, okay, let's go for 2 guitar players, but they've got to be able to work together with, playing harmony. And we chose Ted and Andy Powell, Ted Turner, and it worked great from day one. But the harmony guitar thing was something that I would put together. I would sing the melodies to them, and then they would have the job of trying to work it out on guitar and guitarize it, if you like. And I know that a lot of the melodies that I put together were what you would call kind of pseudo-classical, really. They were very much influenced by classical music, so they're not the typical thing that a guitar player would play, and especially, guitar players, when they try to play harmony themselves, it tends to be quite angular, and it doesn't have the same melodic content, if you like. So it was a very distinct sound, and it did give us a very strong identity.
Okay, so where are you going to take Martin Turner's Wishbone Ash? What's coming up? Because, are you going to hear original material? Or?
I'll take it wherever people are willing to pay me. Yes, I mean, obviously, the original Wishbone Ash in the 70s, I mean, we were signed with Universal in Los Angeles. We started, because we had an American manager, we started in Europe and America at the same time. Grew up from nothing on both sides of the Atlantic, and indeed a lot of American people thought we were an American band. And we went on from there, because our record company was so well organized on a worldwide basis. We literally toured all over the world. Now, so far, I've managed to play the UK and Europe, basically, but I mean, there are still plenty of places to go. I haven't been to the States yet. I want to go there. I want to go to Japan. I want to go to Russia. You name it. I mean, Australasia we used to go to. I'll go to as many places, South America, as many places will take me.
And any new albums coming out? Are you going to do some original songs? Or?
Well, yes. This is something I've been asked about a lot. To be honest, I do think that most Wishbone Ash fans and people that are into the music from the 70s, that's what they want to hear, basically. So, and that's what I've been playing so far. I mean, we've introduced a new song or two here and there. I mean, I am being asked to put together a new album, and I have tried this year to find the time to do that. Failed miserably so far, but we've got a period coming up now, before Christmas and after Christmas, January, February, where we should be able to get into the studio and finally put down a few new songs. We've got them ready to go. It's just finding the time to actually do the work.
That's always the way, isn't it? But anyway, mate, I'm looking at... thanks.
And also, you know, back in the days when we started out, you know, you were talking about a vinyl album, which the optimum time for a vinyl album was 20 minutes per side, which is 40 minutes of music. You know, sometimes it'd be as little as, say, 8 songs on there. Now, nowadays with CDs and 80-minute recorded time length, you know, you're talking about double that. So it is a somewhat more, it's a much larger labour of love, if you like.
Okay, well, then, Martin, we've got to press on because it's not like time's beating us and I've got the rest of the show to fit in. Before you go, I've got already Argus Through the Looking Glass all queued up. Would you like to select your favourite track off the album to introduce and leave the people with?
Well, oh God, I mean, far be it from me to have favourites. I mean, Warrior and Throw Down the Sword are favourites, but I mean, you kind of got to play them both together.
We can play them both together, no problem.
Time Was, maybe, you know, that's in 2 pieces as well. You got the acoustic bit on the front and then the main thing. So, you know, whichever one you pick, really, it's going to be tricky.
Well, let's go for Time Was, because we're on to our normal Epic of the Week spot where we normally play a long track while we go and have a coffee. So, that's great. That'll be brilliant.
Brilliant. All right, well, at least you can get a coffee out of it, John.
Well, I mean, when you're doing a 2-hour show, if you don't have a ciggy and coffee halfway through, I don't last till the end, do
Really, yeah.
Anyway, Martin Turner, Wishbone Ash, we want to say thanks very, very much for phoning in.
Sure.
And sort of like, if you're ever touring in Britain again, or next time you're touring in Britain, or if you've got new material out, give us a bell, and or send it to us, we'll give it a big plug, we'll have another natter.
Definitely, yeah. We haven't been to Bristol a whole lot. Is that where you're based?
Yeah, we're based in Bristol, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't been there a whole lot.
We've got some good venues here, Fleece and Firkin, Thekla.
What about the Area 81 club?
Area 81, lovely Hills, Club run by the local Hills Angels, superb venue that is, so...
well, there has been a bit of politics involved in some of the gigs, you know, I'm afraid to say.
Yeah. But
we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, well, hopefully we will, and we'll meet up and we'll have a beer.
Brilliant, nice one, John.
Okay, so if you'd like to introduce Time Was, and then we'll all the best and happy Christmas.
And the same to you, yeah. I hope you have a good one.
Okay, so would you like to introduce the track?
Yep, okay, this is Martin Turner from Wishbone Ash, and I think we're going to play you Time Was right now.
Okay, thanks again, Martin, and have a good one.
Cheers, John. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.